Right, it's I only made the Dafyomi video today. I'm very, very tired. I had a very interesting day yesterday, today, difficult day, but pushing myself to keep producing videos and bringing out ideas that I want to share with people that I think are kedai to share. My Baba Shalom, my grandmother Esther Rachel Bas Shlomo Kohen passed away in the Shabbos Kodesh, and so the Levaya was yesterday, and I feared the Levaya. I said the Hesped, and it was big chashivas. There was a big oilam there, mishpacha, and people from the community, from New Hyde Park, and the New Hyde Park Rav came, Rabbi Teidelman, and it was a very choshev climate there. Give a kavod achron to Isha Tzedekis, the Babu, Zechron Lavrocha, Redim Kaparas Mishkova, and I said over by the Hesped, talked about many different things, and I didn't cry when I heard on Shabbos the news, and even Motzei Shabbos also didn't cry, but when we put in the Aron into the karka, then I started crying. And when I was trying to say the Hesped, I was crying. The eulogy. And I said over that I spoke about a lot of inyanim, but I said, we know what it says in Koheles, Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, is everything. There's a season and a time and a purpose under the heavens. A time to be born, a time to die, and so forth. And it ends a time for war and a time for peace. I said, at a time like this, we're seeking to find peace of mind. How can we attain peace of mind? As I said over an interesting story, I didn't tell the whole story, but there was an Orthodox rabbi who was a chaplain in the American Army. He was an American hero, and he was the one who liberated many of the camps after the war. From the people he liberated were Elie Wiesel and Yisrael Me'er Lau, and a lot of other Choshev Yidden who were very famous, were little children that he, at the time, that he befried. And Freidgewarn, and he liberated. And this Rabbi Robert Muller or Miller, I don't remember. So anyway, he had a child born while he was overseas. His wife was pregnant before he left, and he had a few children. He had a son who I think in the early 50s passed away. He was a little boy, he passed away, and that broke his heart. That Rabbi Miller himself, who did so many tremendous things, tremendous work, what he did, that he was so heartbroken after his son. I didn't say all of this by the Levaya, by Hesped, but he himself, he was nifter not too long after that. And when he was mourning the loss of his son, this rabbi wrote a letter to Albert Einstein. And Einstein responded to him with a few lines. I'll paraphrase the best I can remember. Very oiskamich. I'll tell the whole story. after this, I am so tired right now. I was trying to make a Daf Yomi video and I was falling asleep, mamish, and then the video didn't save, and then I tried to make it. I made a dent in the Daf Yomi, but I didn't. Although I had actually been up to, I was almost done when I made the video, and the video didn't save. I'll try to see if it got saved. I don't know, but if not, I'll Daf Ibe machen. So anyway, Einstein wrote to this rabbi that every human being is a part of the greater whole that we call the universe. Albeit we are a part that's limited in time and space. But we tend to forget, because of our consciousness, that we're part of the greater whole. We tend to think that we're somehow separate from the fabric of the whole universe, the greater whole. But in reality, we are part of the greater whole. Einstein writes, and he says we have what he called it quite humorously an optical delusion, with a D, that we are somehow separate from the rest of what the whole universe is. And he said that the goal of all true religion is to recognize that we are part of that whole, not to nourish that delusion, but rather to overcome it. And if we focus on that fact that we are part of this greater whole, then it will give us peace of mind by contemplating on this. This is what Einstein said. So I said that my Baba, Colonel Vrocha, she was a nurse. That wasn't just what she did. That was what her whole life was, that she was a nurse serving other people. Even after she retired from nursing, she was still a nurse. And I said, whether it was her family or a stranger, she was there. And whether it was and who was she a nurse to? In the 1950s, she was a nurse in Hollywood. And some of the biggest movie stars were her patients. Marilyn Monroe, Clark Gable, Dorothy Lamour, Ray Crash Corrigan, that's one I like, but Sidney Poitier, Rochester Anderson, another one I like. Many Jay Silverheels, that's the one I didn't mention. You know, who played Tonto and the Lone Ranger. All of these, they were her patients. Dorothy Lamour gave her a sarong. I don't know if we still have it. Anyway, she said that Marilyn Monroe was the nicest person you could ever want to meet. She said she was so nice. So anyway, my Baba, she was a nurse to these very famous movie stars, and she was, when I remember, she was still working when I was a little baby, and I have memories before she retired. She was a nurse in the 1970s and 80s in Rikers Island. And there she was a nurse to inmates in the prison, one of the toughest prisons in America. And it didn't matter who it was, an inmate in Rikers Island or Clark Gable or Marilyn Monroe, everyone was made in the image of God, and she served them all equally. She recognized how we're all part of that greater whole, as Einstein spoke of. said some other things, but that's, I think, the main thought that I wanted to bring out and share with you all here on the YouTube video. I didn't record the Hespedim. So then after that, after the Levaya, I had booked already. I do civil marriages. It was a Russian couple in Pennsylvania that hired me to come perform their wedding yesterday. And when they hired me, I told them, I said, it's very possible that I might have to rearrange the schedule because my Bubba was very ill at the time, and we didn't know maybe that would be when her Levaya would be. We were hoping not, but I wanted to prepare for that, just in case. And they said it's okay whatever time I come to do the wedding, because it's just really the two of them in their home. And they had another couples, friends of theirs, come over as well. And the other couple told me at the end they didn't know why they were coming. They just thought they were being invited over. They didn't know that they were getting married. So it was a nice little thing. So I drove there to the Feast of Real Trevose to Ben Salem, Pennsylvania, a 2.5-hour drive from Long Island, and from Beis Chaim. And I even arrived a little earlier than they thought. When they were ready, whatever, we took care of the ceremony, and then I was ready to go home. And when I left in the morning, I thought, I'm not going to get back till like 11 at night. And when I saw what time I was leaving, I said, oh, it's very good. I could be home before 9:30. Wonderful. After such a long day, a difficult day, be home 9:30, the Machaya. So then, I'm getting on the highway, by the exit, there was a big dip on the edge of the road, and it killed my tire. The passenger side tire, the front. I managed to get off of the exit, and it was right there, a good place to stay. And I should have stayed there. I was very stupid. I looked up on Google. I saw that Walmart was about a mile away, really less than a mile as the crow flies, but to drive there, maybe a mile and a half. And there they have an auto center, and Google said that they're open until 7 o'clock. It was Sunday. So on the flat tire, I drove, did some pretty bad damage to the wheel. Not too horrible, but not too great either. And I got there about 10 to 7. And they said, no, we're closed. On Sunday we closed at 5. This was what... So then I'm sitting there, I called AAA. AAA said, no, we canceled your policy. Turned out they didn't cancel it. They did reinstate it, but they couldn't find the new number. I don't know. So then I found someone, a 24-hour garage, Russians. They came over. They thought they had a spare that they would sell me. The spare was too small. AAA said, you're not going to get anything tonight. You just leave it there at Walmart and go to a motel for the night. So that's what I did. I couldn't sleep the whole night. Very difficult night. Maybe I slept 2-3 hours the whole night. So now, Beck and Days, I'm very exhausted. but it's a chashivas to and then so then in the morning I got up. I was just about to daven nates with the Maisa Satan. I was ready to daven Shmir Esrei nates, and then I realized I didn't have talis and tefillin. I didn't bring with me, so daven without talis and tefillin. Baruch Hashem, my daughter brought me my talis and tefillin. When I picked her up, she brought it with her to school. When I picked her up from school, I was able to put talis and tefillin at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I had already been daven mincha already, but so. And then I checked out the motel, walked back to Walmart over the highway. Wasn't that far, a 10-minute walk, maybe less. So I get there 10 after 7. There were 2 people already in front of me, but to them it also took forever. And if I would have been left by 8 o'clock from Walmart, I would have made it to work on time. But it wasn't min hashamayim. It wasn't shared. So, and I'm going to talk about that. Well, this is why I'm telling the whole story. It was an episode shared. So, sometimes you listen to the radio and you have ideas what to share. Especially, I work in the hospital and I want to share ideas with the clients. And I'm so mispol. There's really a godless to this man in Beck. I have when I think of my friend Asher Mesa, how he feels that we should try to encourage people to consider the possibility to become a Ger Tzedek, to convert to Judaism fully. I know Glenn Beck, he was searching for religion. If we would have made him a Yid, would have been so wonderful. It's a shame that he became a Mormon instead of becoming Jewish in a way. But all in all, the culture of the Mormon Church is a beautiful culture. The theology is the problem there, and I don't know how much he buys into the theology as much as he loves the culture of the Mormon Church. Theology is very pagan, very difficult to say that it's not Avodah Zarah. It's mamish prosta Avodah Zarah, the Mormon Church. But they're very nice people, and they have a beautiful culture and a beautiful society. And I can understand why he was drawn to that, even though really he said it wasn't for him, because he's such a different person than who he was, but it helped transform him being around nice people like that. He spoke about his challenges in life, but that's not what I want to bring out. If I would have been at work on time, I wouldn't have heard this. And it's a positive thing. It's like mamish like with the Mesilas Yesharim, in the Hakdama, the Mesilas Yesharim talks about how the Mesilas Yesharim doesn't say any big chiddush. It's things we all know, but we so often forget. Things that are so obvious. That's the Mesilas Yesharim. Mesilas Yesharim it tells us obvious things, but we need to remember we don't think about. And this was a shtickle musar that I heard today from Glenn Beck. And it was about 10:30 that I heard it, and I would not have heard it if I wasn't running late from work to work. If I would have been in time to work today, so it is kedai all the expenses of the motel and the tire and everything. It was worthwhile. Could almost say, in order to hear this musar from Glenn Beck. He had on the radio there the editor-in-chief, I believe, of Politico, which most people would assume is certainly mainstream, and certainly people on the right would consider it to be something on the left, although we have the extreme left, that see excuse me, that see this all as too mainstream and too centrist and not left-wing enough. He was talking about this, about how Nancy Pelosi is considered too centrist by the extreme left today, and it's fascinating because to me, I see much more of a connection between, let's say, Donald Trump and the really extreme left, but they don't see it themselves, And Glenn Beck is an incredible person because he is so intellectually honest, I feel, with everything that he teaches. And he said that this editor-in-chief of Politico, he was frightened, he was scared that he would be punished for expressing an opinion, not really a pro-Donald Trump opinion, but just basically to say that he believes that the whole story about Donald Trump colluding with the Russians is trumped up. Excuse the pun. He pointed out that Steve Bannon, of all people, Steve Bannon said, how could anyone imagine that Donald Trump colluded with the Russians? He couldn't even collude with the Republican National Committee. It was a total fluke that he won. He did not think he was going to win this. And what Glenn Beck said was very profound after this. He said, why is he afraid to express this that he believes? And Glenn Beck told, I don't remember his name, the head of Politico, he's like, I'm not commending you for saying something that I believe, even though it is something I believe. I commend you for having the courage to say something that you believe. That's one thing he said. But then he went further, and he said that politics had become a religion, to the point where the religions have to kowtow to the politics. He said that the churches, they have to, whatever side it is politically, they have to acquiesce, and they cannot dare express what they should have. Churches should really have a certain level of neutrality when it comes to politics. But he said, now you can't get away with being neutral. You have to pick a side, and if you don't pick a side and you don't pick the right side, then the religious, the houses of worship, the congregations, will excommunicate you. And it's mamish so interesting that I heard this. It's hashgacha pratis, because I was speaking to my cousin Rabbi Altman, who lives in Massachusetts, and he used to be a Chabad Shliach in Lakewood. I mean, when I say Chabad Shliach, I don't mean like Riv Sichun, that the Lubavitcher Rebbe told him, you're going to Lakewood. This is my cousin. Lubavitcher Rebbe also told him he should wear a Greek fisherman's cap and not a fedora. So Rabbi Altman, he was talking about the shuls in his neighborhood, and we were discussing about he said the particular shul is the Young Israel shul. Young Israel is supposed to be center or right of center in modern Orthodoxy, but he said in the town where he lives, the Young Israel shul is, for all intents and purposes, is open Orthodox. And I said to him, I'll tell you the truth. I love the idea of the open Orthodox. I love the idea of being intellectually honest, which is a beautiful aspect of the culture of the open Orthodox community. There's a tremendous amount of intellectual honesty there that you don't see in most other frum communities. I would say, though, that the Hungarians also have the same intellectual honesty. Satmar, and especially the ones, people like kind of on the fringe of Satmar, people like Rabbi Yitzchak Leibovich was a Talmud of Satmarov, but he speaks out against what Satmar has developed into today, in a certain sense, how it's aped the other Hasidic groups in a certain sense. And I spoke to Rabbi Yitzchak Leibovich last week, and Rabbi Yitzchak is a tremendous Talmud Chacham, Masmid, and he's very Hirschian. He loves learning from Sham Shmuel Hirsch very much. Chassam Sofer is always on his table, and Rav Hirsch is always on his table. And Rabbi Yitzchak Leibovich, is also very intellectually honest. You don't have the nonsense that you see in a lot of other places. And in any event, but the issue I have with the open Orthodox is something that causes me pain, because I would like to have more of a fellowship with the open Orthodox. I applied to join the International Rabbinical Fellowship, International Fellowship of Rabbis, but they turned me down. I don't know why. International Rabbinical Fellowship, yeah. I've had conversations with Rabbi Avi Weiss, very choshev, the Iguman, the Tito for Yiddishkeit. He's a fine person, a very friendly person. Even if I disagree with him on things, he's a wonderful person, a Varma Neshama, a Rebbe. Like I've spoken before, the nafkamina of a Rebbe and a Rav. A Rav, maybe he shouldn't be, although he a haltzach Rav, But a Rebbe, he's a very good Rebbe. And anyway, he but the problem that I have with his chevra there is that they're so political, and the disrespect that they have for the president. You can disagree with the president, but the disrespect is very shameful, and the level of leftism, liberalism that they have in that culture, that's what makes me uncomfortable as far vis-a-vis orthodoxy with them. But I also feel that there's room for such people in orthodoxy. I don't want to push them out. So my cousin was telling me about the Young Israel shul. Young Israel, it threw me out because I wasn't whatever. But but there they have things that are mamish. too far to the left. In that particular shul, now the other young Israel shuls are very hamish and very choshev. You have some of the most choshev, there's one shul that, I saw that I was speaking to, it was very choshev Rav there, and he retired, and he picked a new Rav in the shul, and he said, oh, I was talking to the rabbits, and the rabbits said, we made the shul so yeshiva. She was the young Israel shul, and now it's become more YU. Instead of being yeshivish. So anyway, my cousin was talking about in the Young Israel Shul in the town where he lives. The Rav there on Shabbos after the election, he said like this. He said, I know we're all very sad about what happened on election day, but we're not allowed to be sad on Shabbos. On Sunday we can sit shiva, and this is the Young Israel Shul, which is funny. Usually the Young Israel Shuls are more right wing, and it's just shocking to me. But so here's this statement, So anyway, and forget about that. Forget about what he said, and forget, like Glenn Beck said, not that they should agree with me. I'm happy that they said, but the thing is, in a shul, this is how you should talk from the pulpit. First of all, how does the Rav know that all the people in the shul are sad that Donald Trump won? Do you want to alienate the people who are happy that Donald Trump won, or at least who are happy that Hillary Clinton lost? Why say that in the shul? I'm going to make a joke here and there about it, that's a different story, But to say such a thing, it's shocking, and it's disrespectful, and it's wrong. But the thing is, it's wrong on both sides. That's what Glenn Beck brought out. I was so misspol that he said this. That he essentially, he said on both sides, you cannot have this, that somehow a religious, a church or a synagogue, whatever, has to kowtow to a political view, one way or the other, on the left or the right. It's wrong. And he said, if that's what religion is about today, he wants to be a heretic. And I told this over to my one of my patients, who I think is a proud heretic, and she knows enough that she could really be a heretic, Alan Dershowitz, he told his Maggid Shir in YU, he said, Rebbe, I'm an apikoros. So Maggid Shir told Dershowitz, he said, you don't know enough to be an apikoros. Their idol can't genig is he can doch sein apikoros, but still trying to be Makarev Epis. So and she was very misfollowed by this, that and anyway, but that's and then he said, he doesn't think this is a message that all of the people who founded all the religions that we look up to, he doesn't think that's what they meant. That, you have to be, preaching from the pulpit in the church or in the synagogue for the president or against the president. I made a video some time ago about how happy I was that in my shul where I daven, Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur was a no politics zone. That's a beautiful thing. And the Zoydaf sign. You're going to bring in the groceries, Faggy? Alright, so thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe and comment. And thank you for listening. Take care.